Go West, October 2021 for the 21st Iowa Country School Preservation Conference in Sac County. The conference will be held at the Odebolt Community Center October 8th and 9th, 2021. The location is next to Heritage Square Park of Odebolt at 116 East 2nd Street. The theme of the conference is One-Room Schools, the Start of Big Dreams. It's meant to learn about history and preservation and legacy. Experience the 2 days of presentation and tours of beautifully preserved Iowa rural schools with their beginnings in the farming culture that created them. Save the date, October 8th and 9th, 2021. Final brochure on presentations, tours, and registrations will be mailed and posted in June. Odebolt, Sac City, Preservation, Iowa, Iowa Rural Schools of Odebolt websites are all sharing that information, and you can call Carol Roche, registrar for the conference, at 712-830-8328, or email ruralschoolsiowa@gmail.com or www.iowaruralschoolmuseum.net. Odebolt Community Center. The center is a spacious gathering area with kitchen and restroom facilities that hosts a large variety of events. It has huge charcoal drawings by Scott Winnie that features Otobolt's early buildings on the expansive walls. Displays highlight the popcorn story of Odebolt, featuring both Cracker Jack and Jolly Time. There are also large displays showcasing the area's two bonanza farms starting in the 1870s. First, the Wheeler Farm, or Fairview Farm, or Adams Ranch, consisting of 11 sections, and second, the Brookmont Farm, or Cook Ranch, with 12 sections. Heritage Square Park. This is the center of Heritage Square Park where you can walk, relax, and enjoy the museums surrounding it. There is a large four-sided vintage-style clock to remind you of the time. On the left behind the clock is a World War I memorial. The Otobolt Cemetery has another Veterans Memorial. The Odebolt Community Center is just behind the buildings in this picture. The Iowa Rural Schools Museum in Heritage Square Park. This museum is housed in the Richland Willow Tree School, built in 1883. It is one of 12,623 one-room schools built in Iowa from 1870 to 1901. It has an entertaining 22-minute video documentary of the history of Iowa's farm settlement and why its system of one-room schools was built. 12 informative audio stations plus thousands of artifacts tell the history of the unique system of public one-room schools for Iowa farm children. Peterson House. This is one of the first pioneer houses in the area. It was built in 1886 by Nils Magnus and Maria Carolyn Peterson and is where they raised 5 children. It is furnished in the period and shows their Swedish heritage. Outside stands one of many barn quilt blocks in Sac County. The house is maintained by the Toledo Questers, number 485. The Odebolt Historical Museum. The museum has the history of Odebolt. It has an especially wonderful collection of early women's dresses and many other wonderful items showing early life in Odebolt. It is a comfortable setting and has exhibits throughout its large 2-level space. Sac City Historical Museum and Village with Jackson number 7. The historical village, located by the Sac City Museum, has a preserved second-generation country school, Jackson number 7, built in 1933, a group of replica buildings representing early business, and the Noble Popcorn Company that provided the popcorn to create the world's largest popcorn ball according to Guinness World Records in 2016. Noble Popcorn creates Cedar Creek-flavored popcorn. Sac County Early Settler Cabin. Next to the Chautauqua Pavilion is an early settler cabin in Sac County. Although Otto Williams settled first in Sac County near Big Grove, later called Grant City in 1853, he left and went further west when more settlers arrived. This cabin was erected in 1854 by David Metcalf near an American Indian village a mile north of its current location. The first group of settlers in Sac County settled in the vicinity of future Sac City in 1854. In 1856, Eugene Criss arrived, and his home became the only stagecoach stop between Fort Dodge and Sioux City. It also was the location of the first election in Sac County. Sac City Chautauqua Pavilion. This building was used for entertainment and other activities and is still used today. Chautauquas were important for 8th grade country school graduations in nearly every county after the turn of the century. Few remain. Some were permanent buildings like this one, but many were tents set up for the summer events. As of 2014, this building is on the National Register of Historic Places. Dinner will be held at the nearby Sac Community Center, formerly an historic Sac City High School, at 1015 West Main Street, Sac City, Iowa, 50583. This high school had the first swimming pool in the state. Adams Bank, or First National Bank, built in 1916, now First State Bank. This building replaced the earlier home of First National Bank, chartered in 1890. It had merged with Farmers First National Bank in 1914. The bank built new quarters in 1916, known as the Adams Bank, because the owner of the Adams Ranch built it and had his private office and quarters, see the door to the far left, and a garage for his Pierce Arrow behind the bank. Mr. Adams closed his bank in 1934 with no depositors losing money. Otobolt State Bank was established in late 1934 in the vacant Farmers Savings Bank. The Adams Bank sat empty until 1968, when purchased by Otobolt State Bank. In 2008, the bank was sold to First State Bank and was restored in 2009 as a set for the movie Peacock, starring Susan Sarandon, released in 2010. It currently operates as First State Bank in Odebolt. Otobolt elevators are behind the Adams Bank. Otobolt's original 1954 Mayor Osborne elevator is one of the last ones using the revolutionary slip-formed concrete construction for tall elevators, with totally mechanical systems used in rural and small towns. Once concrete started to pour, it did not stop day or night until the silo was finished. This elevator was never painted white or any color, just the natural, beautiful color of concrete. It is still being used today. Old Fairview Farm, or Adams Ranch farmstead today. The Wheeler Farm, Fairview Farm, or Adams Ranch, was an 11-section farm started in 1872 and was purchased by the Adams family in 1896. It was like a small town with 50 miles of roads that bordered every section, with 4 entrances to the farmstead in the middle of a section. The roads were lined and shaded with double rows of elm trees. Today it is closed to the public, but an excellent display is available at the Otobolt Community Center to learn about this historically important bonanza farm that used 240 mules to farm and 130 men during harvest season. The famous huge 2-story mule barn is pictured above. The farm was operated by 3 generations of Adams. The Adams Ranch was the largest farm in Iowa when sold in 1964. Tour to Grant School passes by castles. Grant Center School was built in 1884. It is located in Moorhead Park in Ida Grove. When driving to the school, you pass many castle-like buildings built by model plane enthusiast Byron Leroy Godberson. He owned the company Byron's Originals that produced 1/8 scale model airplane kits. He used a castle theme for his buildings that included an airport runway and hangar. The runway was also used as the location for annual model airplane competitions until 1996. Mr. Godberson died in 2003. Today, Midwest Industries, a leader in marine industry, occupies many of the castle-like buildings. Sac County tour of barn quilt blocks. Sac County has participated in the Barn Quilt Blocks project that seeks to honor the quilting tradition of the area and in some cases preserve vintage quilt patterns. Large quilt block patterns painted on barns can be seen throughout the area. A map of barn locations in Sac County can be obtained at the local museums or City Hall, Odebolt. The former popcorn center of the world by 1915 with Cracker Jack and Jolly Time has placed quilt blocks on one of the huge abandoned Cracker Jack popcorn storage cribs. The quilt block shown to the right is near the Peterson Pioneer House. Prairie Peddler Gardens. This is a local nursery where you can buy plants, walk through beautiful themed gardens, and learn about the plants native to the area. You will even pass by the original field where Cloyd Smith first grew popcorn for Jolly Time. This field and the land that the Prairie Peddler stands on north of Odebolt is the original land of the Brookmont Farm, also known as the Cook Ranch. It was a 12-section farm that operated from 1873 to 1909. After Cook died, the farmland was sold off in parcels by 1918 to local farmers. The site is 6 miles north of Odebolt on the blacktop and a half-mile west on gravel. At the Prairie Peddler, vintage Sears prefab barn. This barn is now used for parties and events. You can still see the beautiful precision in the pre-cut wood kits that were ordered through a Sears and Roebuck's catalog. The kits used to construct this barn were delivered by railroad and were considered quite an innovative way to serve areas without native lumber or enough skilled builders. Sears prefab barns were available up to the 1940s. At the Prairie Peddler, Cook Township No. 8, rebuilt in 1937. This is a great example of what a second-generation one-room school built in the early 1900s looked like. It has a basement with chemical toilets, and many windows on adjacent sides. This was different than the first-generation schools built in the 1800s like Willow Tree, that had 3 windows on opposite sides of the classroom with no basements and required the use of outhouses. Come see rural Iowa and experience its changes. Today's farming has transformed how crops are planted, grown, and harvested with the use of sophisticated technology, large equipment, chemicals, herbicides, along with traditional use of animal manure as fertilizer. Children now rarely walk the bean fields to cut out volunteer corn and weeds. Crop rotation and soil conservation practices such as terraces manage the topsoil. Leaving ditches unmowed has increased wildlife. Fewer farms have livestock, which enables farmers to manage larger acreages.